The feeling over the last few days at the NovaCare complex has been that it's more likely that he plays than doesn't play, unless there's some type of setback either today or tomorrow before the game Sunday. It seems like it's leaning that way towards him being in the lineup.
Well, how does that obviously help this team out? Johnson played so well last week at the left side. They went right after Greg Hardy, and Kelly held his own on the right side. Got to give him credit, too. But does this mean that they are, obviously they're better in this spot, but, getting Peters back, how much more does that help the run game?
Oh, yeah, it's certainly a big help. And with Peters back, it's not just, obviously he's a talented guy, but it's not just the talent. It's the veteran leadership. It's the communication, the chemistry that he's developed with Alan Barber at left guard. And that's been one underrated thing about the Eagles' offensive line that has been a big reason they've been successful in the last 4 games on the ground, is just their chemistry and communication has really improved. It's a new unit. People have talked about Sam Bradford in a new offense, DeMarco Murray in a new offense, but the Eagles had 2 new starters coming into the season at offensive line, and they needed time to adjust too. So Lane Johnson certainly more than held his own against Greg Hardy, but it will definitely help just the communication and chemistry with Jason Peters being back at left tackle and Lane Johnson at right tackle.
Josh, they ran 172 yards, almost 5 yards a carry. The Dolphins are 31st in the league. They give up 142 yards a game. Is there any reason why they shouldn't run the ball about 30 times on Sunday?
No, there really isn't. And I think it's going to be an interesting game because everyone has rightfully been talking about how much success the Eagles could have on the ground. But I think this is a game where Sam Bradford could really air it out, because when you have the running game working as well as it has been, going up against such a poor run defense, that's just inevitably going to open up the passing lane. The play action will work very well. They should be able to take some shots downfield, which is obviously something they haven't done a ton of this season. So when the run game gets going, that's when Bradford is going to be at his best in the passing game. So although they'll run the ball a lot, don't be surprised if they take some shots successfully down the field on Sunday.
Yeah, and, one area, too, that you chronicled over at PhillyMag.com, if you look at Josh's All-22, was the area of Matt Tobin and Dennis Kelly, where people were really worried about that side. But Kelly's a natural tackle, and he looked like he felt much more comfortable in that spot and actually helped out the run game.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was surprised about was, that was his first start at tackle since 2012, and he said that he just feels more comfortable at tackle instead of guard, even though he's had, snaps at right guard this season when Matt Tobin switched to left tackle when Jason Peters was out early in the year. But then Kelly says he just feels more natural. He was drafted by the Eagles to be a tackle, and him and Matt Tobin developed a really good rhythm during practice last week. And that was one thing I thought was interesting was Matt Tobin said in the whole week of practice, they were never offbeat even one snap in practice. And that's one reason they think they played so well. And those 2 guys, Matt Tobin and Dennis Kelly, they had the 2 best games of any offensive lineman in that Dallas game, better than Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey. Those 2 guys were surprisingly the strong suit of the Eagles' offensive line.
What about the secondary where it seemed like Carroll, they were going after him a little bit, the 2 penalties on Maxwell. But for the most part, I thought the penalties were Bush League and that Maxwell, who I'll admit, I haven't been the biggest Maxwell supporter so far this year, but I thought he played his best game.
Yeah, Byron, and that's one thing that I don't think has gotten enough attention is Byron Maxwell's steady improvement over the course of the season. He rightfully got a lot of criticism early on, especially after that Atlanta game where he wasn't very good. And even in a couple of games after that, against Dallas in week 2, he was inconsistent, giving up that touchdown to Terrence Williams. But now, the big thing that he's really fixed is just his consistency. He's shown flashes before of being good at the line of scrimmage and disrupting receivers early in their routes, but he's done that snap in and snap out. And against Dallas, he was on the field 50 times in pass coverage, allowed just 1 reception. Definitely his best game of the season.
Yeah, and overall the secondary, Cole Beasley over 100, Dez over 100. But overall, what was your thought on the secondary in that game?
Yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily the strategy what was wrong with the Eagles secondary. It was more just kind of the execution and the after the catch. The big Dez Bryant catch that went for about 50 yards, that was just more poor tackling than anything else. He caught the ball, probably got 15 or 20 yards as soon as he caught it, and then he got 30 more yards because they couldn't bring him down. And then the second Cole Beasley touchdown was a miscommunication. The Des Bryant touchdown, I mean, that was just, as Nolan Carroll called it, a fluke. I mean, Matt Castle just threw the ball up in the air, and everyone around Des Bryant fell. So it wasn't anything that raises red flags going forward. It was more just things not really going the Eagles' way, but also them making mental mistakes in a couple of key moments.
Josh Paunil's with us. Philly Mag Birds 24/7. Can you kind of go back to that game-winning play the other night, and kind of wondering if we found something there from both Sam Bradford and Jordan Matthews that they can build off of that play moving forward?
Oh yeah, and the one thing that I thought was very important about that play was when you have that play, you don't just want a completion. You don't just want Bradford to complete the ball and get the first down. He put the ball on the money. He hit Jordan Matthews in stride, and that's something that even though Sam Bradford's obviously completed passes early this year, he hadn't done a whole lot of hitting his receivers in stride and setting them up for big runs after the catch. And that's the difference between a first down and a game-winning touchdown, was hitting him in stride and letting him make the play. But I also thought that was a great play design and just a great route by Matthews to fake the over route and go back out. That's a play that I think we'll see in key moments later on this season. They ran it twice against Dallas. That was actually the second time. And the first time was about 26-yard gain. So 2 for 2. Both plays went for more than 25 yards. You'll definitely be seeing that in big moments going forward.
All right, Josh, and one thing moving forward here, no Jordan Hicks, obviously. Do we see the Eagles and Bill Davis lean more on Kiko Alonso?
Yeah, definitely. But they really need, and they're fortunate that D'Amico Ryans appears to be likely to play on Sunday, because Billy Davis was asked this week, is Kiko Alonso at the point yet where he can play 60 to 70 snaps? And Jordan Hicks was, I think, at about 56 against Dallas. And Billy Davis said, no, Kiko's not at that point yet where he can play that many snaps. So they need D'Amico Ryans to give them some snaps, at least just in the Dolphins game, so Kiko Alonso has more time to get back to full health. But they'll certainly be relying more on Kiko Alonso, particularly on passing downs. That's one thing that you'll see is they'll have D'Amico Ryans more on the early first and second downs and run downs, and then when it's third and long or other likely pass situations, you'll probably see Kiko Alonso and Michael Kendrick out on the field together.
Good stuff from Josh. PhillyMag.com, Birds 24/7, all Eagles, all the time. And, Josh, we appreciate you moving your schedule around for us. Thanks so much, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
You got it. Josh Paunil, our Van Dodge keys to the game, driven by Van Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Violin. After a great sale, Van Dodge is overstocked on trade-ins. Go to vanhazit.com. Check out their huge inventory. Van Dodge needs to sell 75 pre-owned vehicles. Come in and see their excellent selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. Van has traded all makes and models. Go to vanhazit.com.